Bill Carroll, Zenny62 Media, and I am working my way still through my watch list of players. And I'm going to start with a player that, once again, sort of the holy grail in HBCU scouting, is a player that you are really confident you want to put your sort of your imprint on, that you believe has a really good chance to be drafted. I'm going to start with Malachi Bailey, defensive end from Alcorn State. Didn't have really a bad game at all in his junior year last year. Even his worst games were pretty darn good. I'll just work you through his games that really stood out to me. He had a terrific game against Grambling, right? Against Grambling, he had 3 solo tackles, a couple of assists, was solid against the run, and also chipped in 2 tackles for loss. He had a very, very good game against UAPB, 5 solo tackles, and in that game also chipped in 3 tackles for loss, and amongst those was a sack. He ended up with 9 sacks on the season, so one of the better pass rushers in all of the SWAC. Had another big game against Southern University, and in that game he had 4 solo tackles, a couple of assists, and once again chipped in with 4.5 tackles for loss, and amongst those 4.5, he had 2.5 sacks. A monster game. While he doesn't have great length, he's sort of a slightly stubbier kind of player, but he's powerful. And sort of the natural, sort of comparison, you'll see names like Daryl Tapp, also a little bit like Lawson from Clemson, right? That kind of guy. Uh, if he gets stronger, maybe even sort of like a Tamba Ali type, right? He needs to continue to improve even more his hand usage, get his hands on guys quicker, disengage from them quicker. But he's got pretty much everything else you want. If he continues to grow and improve, once again, and test well, let's say he gets invited, to the Senior Bowl, or at least East West Shrine Game, or maybe he starts out at Shrine Game, has a monster couple of weeks of practice, and gets sort of that call up, maybe due to injury or something, to the Senior Bowl. I could see him working his way into day 3. And like I said, let's say he comes in at like 6'1 3/4" at 257 and runs, unlikely, but say he just for instance, runs 4.57. Now, not only is he, day 3, but maybe threatening to get into the bottom part of day 2, but still, good all-around player with a few things to work on, but a guy that I really believe, once again, as I say, that sort of holy grail HBCU player that has at least a chance, a legitimate chance of being drafted. And then the other player is a guy who's transferred. I was a tremendous fan of his when he was at Eastern Kentucky. I thought he was a top 5 to 10 running back in all of FCS football last year. A tremendous all-around performer. A guy who put up a monster season. Had 765 yards rushing, which is solid. 474 yards receiving, which is really good. I think amongst running backs at the FCS level might have been number 2 amongst running backs, Dylan Lobby, maybe 2 or 3, but I know he's in one of the top receiving running backs. And then throws in 397 yards as a kick returner. So that's 1,636 yards of all-purpose yardage. Now he's transferred to Ball State, and I'm expecting, at least to be the 3rd down back, but possibly could be more. Probably going to come in at about 5'10 and a half, about 199, somewhere around there. So not small, but not big, but certainly big enough. I'm expecting, like I said, while the production may slide slightly down in rushing totals, I think he's still going to be somewhere in that 400 to 480 yard range in receiving, because I think this is a player that's going to come on, like I said, 3rd downs, might even come on in other downs, maybe even line up at the slot at times, and of course get the ball. So if he ends up with 1,100, all-purpose, or 1,200 all-purpose at Ball State, once again, a player that has a decent shot to at least get to the Shrine Game, and an outside shot at getting drafted. Once again, pending physical testing. Once again, if he runs 4.39, he's getting drafted. If he has the kind of year I'm projecting. If he runs 4.49, it's maybe. If he runs 4.59, he's definitely an undrafted free agent. And is that fair? Is that right? Whole other discussion. But those are my two for the day. I'm a big fan of both Malachi Bailey at Alcorn State, the defensive end. Big fan of the running back. Braedon Sloan has found his way from Eastern Kentucky to Ball State. I will have two more players for you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Let me know what you think, and I will talk to you again tomorrow.